All right, we're back this week to talk about all the fallout from the Super Bowl and the beginning of what could be the next dynasty. And the death of Mr. Brown is finally revealed. Stay tuned to find out who it is. This is the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. Welcome back to the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. This is Chad the Mark. You guys remember Biggie, but this guy is no longer Mr. Brown.
I am Greg Freakin Rawlings. You gotta help me out here.
Biggie was no help on that.
Nah, he left you hanging.
He's too cool in those sunglasses.
I was too busy looking at myself in the reflection.
I mean, listen, real quick. I had to let it go, guys. Mr. Brown is dead. I have the last name of baseball for a reason. I am Mr. Baseball. I am Greg freaking Rawlings. Let's roll with who I am, fellas.
So you're saying move over Tom Selleck. There's a new Mr. Baseball, and he rocks the beard. He rocks the fade.
And I will charge any Japanese dude that throws at me. Just for the record.
But you really did almost die.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect time for me to rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
What was wrong with you?
I think it was the bubonic plague.
I thought they had a treatment for that nowadays.
Nah, apparently not in West Virginia. They sent me home, wouldn't even give me anything.
In all seriousness, you had flu A.
Flu A.
And are you still feeling the effects of it?
Just a cough.
That sucks. Like, we were talking about that, like how people think they know what the flu is. Like,
yeah, I'll lump them all together.
I got a stomach ache.
If I'm sick, I got the flu. No, I mean, I legit had a 101 to 103 temperature for about 7 straight days. And I didn't leave the house. It was bad.
But you lost a lot of weight.
Lost 20 pounds in a week and a half. And I have a 5-pound dog. And it was weird because I'm here by myself. And I looked at Marley, and I was the only one I was hanging out with. And I was like, dude, when I die, just don't eat me because someone's going to come find me first.
You don't have to worry about that with dogs.
Cats are quicker.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Cats
I think cats they said was a day and dogs are a week.
And the cats start at the head or something.
Yeah, they don't play.
Hey, cats, they're little bastards. They try to make it like they purr and shit and try to make it think like, oh, we love
you. They only care about the affection on their terms.
Nah, they don't.
And when they're eating your head, that's definitely on their terms.
You won't know. It'll be okay.
Dogs give you the affection you crave. Cats give you the affection you deserve.
No, that's bullshit. I hate cats.
Have you ever had a cat?
Yes. At my mom's house. Not me personally.
So
two of them.
You've been a functioning adult, never had a cat.
No.
Oh, you just haven't lived.
No, we had it for like 3 days.
Was it a feral cat?
We was going to make sure we was trying to make it be an outside cat. And I just bought the ex a car. And then within 2 days, it freaking knocked shit over on the car and scratched it all to hell. And I was like, I just fed it to the coyotes. To get it out of here.
It's an outside cat after all.
Yeah. It's like Darwinism.
The thing that kills me is we just got one, and it's a pretty good cat, but damn it, man, it wants to get on the kitchen table and the counters and shit like that.
Tinfoil.
Tinfoil?
Yeah, because we got a cat because my daughter wanted a cat. I didn't want a cat. She wanted a cat. I didn't want a cat. We got a cat. Now the cat sleeps at my feet every night. Oh, that cat.
Fucking
I know we pretty broke a record. How many times we just said cat in one show?
Cat.
But yeah, that's the thing is that the cat knows it's not supposed to be on the counter. If it sees you, it takes off.
But pussy cat.
Fucking stubborn ass biatch.
What's new, pussy cat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Is this all because of that?
I like the way you said Fred better.
Poor pussy. Poor pussy cat. I think we're going to get a Right Said Fred reference.
There you go. Got to be back, fellas.
So the voice you sang that in, is that the bald guy who does I'm Too Sexy For?
Yeah, that's Right Said Fred.
I never knew his name. I knew the song.
Wait. Is it a him or is it a group?
I think it's a him.
I think it's a him.
I know there's a
outsider.
Is that just him? Can we get our crack research team to check and see if Right Said Fred is a singer or a group?
Singer.
What?
There you go.
That's it. So it's just one guy. Right Said Fred is just one individual. This is the type of knowledge that you're going to get downloaded. Oh, wait.
It's a band.
There's 2 of them.
All right. Well, it's a duet.
They're definitely European, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's a
They're
party.
Multiplying.
Now it's a party.
It's a menage a trois of guys wearing mesh shirts. Because that was all the rage when they came out.
They're the cousins to the guys that did Rammstein.
Yeah.
No, that's not fair.
Yeah, I love Rammstein.
Rammstein's better.
I'm too sexy for this song.
Du hast.
Yeah, that's the only way it sounds is the end. They try to be dark. They try to be deep at the end, whereas Rammstein's deep all the way through.
I can jam to some Rammstein. They're a little out there sometimes, but we had a Super Bowl. I think that's probably
let's get talking about that. We're talking about like random '90s songs.
Look, everybody's talking about the Super Bowl, so hopefully you enjoyed a reprieve there a little bit as we took you down early '90s pop culture. But the big question, is the Chiefs, man. Like, we got to start looking at them as a dynasty now, right? Like, they are. It's theirs until it's not, right?
I mean, first team to repeat in 20 plus years, right, Biggie?
20 years.
Since the Patriots, right?
The 03-04 Patriots were last team, so 2 decades, or 19 years, I think, technically.
Now, with the NFL parity,
it's more impressive.
Insanity. But, and they weren't the favorites really much of the season, all season long.
You know who you can thank for this Chiefs Super Bowl victory?
Who's that?
Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's who Andrew Reid thanked for it.
I did not.
When Antonio Pierce got named full-time head coach,
Andy Reid
reached out to him, congratulated him.
Stand-up guy.
And then we better win it this year, boys, because Pierce is taking us down twice next year instead of once.
Remember when they whipped their ass?
Yeah.
That Christmas Day game, he thanked him. He said, we needed that ass whooping. We were soft.
Yep, there you go.
You realigned them.
Hey, before we keep talking about the Super Bowl, I want to say this as a Raiders fan, and I never say this in the last 20 years. Every time someone asks me, what are you going to be? My best case scenario was always 8-8. Now it's 8-9. That's on a good year, okay?
I'm 9-8 when you're really optimistic.
No, I'm telling you right now, if we get any resemblance of a quarterback, the Raiders are making the playoffs this year, going to at least 10, 11 wins.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I agree with you. If you have a Pro Bowl, I hate to say
the only reason I want to bring that up is because I haven't felt this optimistic in 20 years.
No, but that's what teams say, right? Like, we're just a quarterback away. We're a quarterback.
Well, you look at the Raiders as far as your skill players offensively, you are just a quarterback away. Like, if you had Derek Carr back, you need just that level of quarterback.
Here's the crazy part. They'd have made the playoffs this year if they didn't start the year with the Jimmy G experience, which I knew was going to be a train wreck. I mean, I'm not saying O'Connell's the deal, but he at least managed the game enough to where they didn't lose it.
Well, you kind of knew what you had there. He's young. And
Antonio Pierce, like, I hated the Josh McDaniels hire. I hated Jimmy G. I said it from the beginning. And Jesus, I said on our show earlier, the Chiefs and the freaking 49ers played on our home turf in a Super Bowl. That's a slap in the face, Vegas. We got to get back to nasty.
Those are two of the Raiders' biggest, if not the biggest, rivalries. And that does hurt. That's got to stick in your craw. But
it's Super Bowl related, okay? But I'm not trying to get off the rails, so keep it rolling.
We can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
I got it in my gut, okay?
Everybody runs the Super Bowl into the ground, but, like, I'm with you on the Raiders as far as, like, if they have the coach. It kind of gives you...
I love their staff they're putting together.
It gives you a Dan Campbell vibe a little bit, right?
He does. He's got that ultra-aggressive...
Former captain for the New York Giants.
1-2 Super Bowls. I mean, he's the guy...
Tom Coughlin loves the man. I should tell you right there.
As a head coach, you don't necessarily have to know every X and O. Not that he doesn't. But you hire good people underneath you, and you're a guy that your players will run through a wall for.
Yeah,
you win.
He's the defensive guy. That's why he knows he's got to bring in a good X and O's on the offensive side.
No, I'm happy. I think it can go back to the Raiders of like the 70s and 80s. There's an interview with John Madden where he's like, yeah, we're dirty. What you going to do about it? That is Raiders football.
AP even said, man, he was like, we're going to bring it back to Raiders football. And guess what? That means no one likes us. And I'm fine with
bring the identity back.
All right, let's reel it back in.
So on the other, before we go down the Chiefs rabbit hole a little more on the other side of that, let's talk about the Niners for a second because, probably the most controversial player during the Super Bowl week and media days, and even maybe for the last month, has been Brock Purdy, right? Like, whether it's Cam
Not
Newton,
by his own reasons.
Right. Whether it's Cam Newton coming out or RG3 saying stuff or whoever, he became a media storm and a lot of people,
he's a bullseye for no reason at all.
Like, you're just going out there and playing with the hands you were dealt. And look, you lost, but you're telling me you almost went to a double overtime with the Chiefs and like, Immediately the next day, people were like, not Niners fans necessarily. I think Niners fans are okay with Purdy, but
I'd be fine with Purdy.
They're like, oh, that's why they didn't win. And what did the Niners? They fired their
defense coordinator, Steve Wilkes.
That seems like a knee-jerk reaction.
That's bullshit. That's what it is.
That's a bullshit firing.
So
That's
for the end,
complete
he's going to have a job like tomorrow.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan's working his way out of San Francisco with decisions like that, right?
They've lost 3 straight Super Bowls. You know what they do? They lose big games.
You know the thing about big games? This is a Belichick thing for years and years. More games are lost than are won, and the Niners, not to discredit Kansas City, the Niners lost that game more than Kansas City won.
They're not. They've lost 3 in like 5 or 6 years.
They've lost 2 under Shanahan, and then they lost 1 with Harbaugh in like 2011.
Dude, fellas, all I know is you put up that little joke about the Cowboys. Like, everybody trolls the Cowboys.
They've won a Super Bowl.
But the Niners are 96, right?
Yeah, Niners are 95. Cowboys are 96.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, the Niners have gotten longer.
Yep.
Then why is it always Dallas is the fucking
Because at least
scapegoat?
San Francisco can win some playoff games. I mean,
They've been to the championship game for the last 5 years.
They've
2
been to
Super Bowls. Both
Good.
Super Bowls, they had a 10-point lead and blew it.
So congrats. In the last 30 years, you're the Bills.
Right, I mean, well, they've been
Well, that's
Super
exactly
Bowls.
what I said. You're becoming a less fun version
Saying,
of the
you're
Bills.
They're a better version of the Bills. But here's
Not
the thing.
recently, 'cause they never won one.
The Cowboys are like, everybody trolls them, but San Francisco gets a pass. I think
That's my point.
I think it's because of the annoyance of the fan base. Like, there's nobody more annoying than the Cowboy fan base, right?
Because everything's bigger in Texas.
Even their expectations and their understanding of football.
I'm just glad that I bet on the regular season Dak and not the playoff Dak because it led me to the championship in fantasy. But I knew what was going to happen once he got to the big dance.
Well, we were talking prop bets, and I bet on the purple Gatorade and got that one right.
That was nice.
That was
How much money did you win?
Not much, because it was the favorites.
Oh, yeah.
It was like betting on the Chiefs.
But
to win.
it's weird because they don't normally go with the favorite. That's what's weird.
Chiefs were a dog in this
I
game.
know. Vegas. They said that it was a record. So Vegas had 190 million bet on the game, and I'm like, that's it. Like, there's no way.
Doesn't it seem like there would be more bet on the Super Bowl?
There has to be just Vegas sports books, not like
FanDuel and DraftKings.
Yeah, it can't be counting that.
Was there a prop bet on if Reba is a vampire or not
Is she looks the same.
for the last 30 years?
Yeah.
Was there a bet on that? I know there was, Biggie. You would know.
Not that I saw.
Gingers can't be vampires.
They had
Wow.
a bet
I'm
on
sure
how-
that's a rule.
I've seen gingers
Maybe
in
that's
Van
the
Helsing.
opposite.
Van Helsing.
Maybe it's the opposite.
Odd ginger vampire.
Gingers would be more likely to be
Absolutely.
vampires because they're
There was
regular.
even a ginger vampire monster squad.
Buffy was a
Nice.
blonde and she was a vampire slayer, so redheads can be vampires.
What's that have to do with anything?
It's
I don't know.
the conclusive
He
and
was
definite
blonde.
property.
Are you talking about the?
Anyway, sorry.
no, I need to know if he's talking about the Sarah Michelle Gellar version or the what was
The other one that had Luke Perry in it.
Christy
Swanson.
Yeah.
That was one of my 90s crushes for sure. Is Christy Swanson.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh,
You remember? I didn't see her for The Chase with Charlie Sheen,
that was good.
Great
Great,
movie.
movie.
but I feel like I didn't see her for a long time. And then
Hill.
Big Daddy.
I was even good before that.
Oh, really?
Higher Learning.
Okay, she wasn't Higher Learning, but I remember she was the Hooters waitress.
Yes.
What's your 5-year plan? Don't die.
Exactly.
That was Christy Swanson.
Yep.
I remember my wife really liked the movie Flowers in the Attic.
Never heard that one.
It's basically when they lock kids in the attic. That's it.
Nice.
We live in a mansion. You're going to live in the attic because we're aristocrats and we don't like these kids. I don't know.
And they say F them kids. So
They
they
do.
started early.
They do. Man, did you see the shit that happened at the Super Bowl parade?
Yeah, brutal. So
Gangbangers.
in our NFL group, man, everybody was making fun of it, and I've read that they was targeting kids, and
Like half the people that got injured were minors.
yeah, so I mean, like, people are cruel, man. Like, it for real, it's a football game, and you're going to sit here and make jokes about it as Niners fans or NFL fans. It's just tasteless.
Nobody cares when they're behind the keyboard.
No, it's tasteless, man. I mean, grow some balls.
Right, but that's why they do it. It's because nobody's going to confront them about it. We're not going to look up their IP address and drive to their house and kick their ass like it needs to be done.
I was like, just guys, keep it tasteful about the tragedy in KC, and people's like, F you and F them. They deserved it. I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
I mean, it was a terrible situation.
It is, man. Well, what
Nobody
about
deserves to have that happen, but if we think one thing of that positively, or I would like to think of, is the fans out there who tackled the fucking shooter until the cops came
yeah.
over.
So they literally tackled the man they know who had the gun in possession, knocked him down, knocked the gun away. I mean, I saw the video. It was insanity. Like, think about what's going through your mind when you're going to go tackle the dude who you know have already shot up several kids.
Which sucks because the overall parade, like, sorry, I have some good stories. You had, what's his name? That was walking around shirtless and.
Oh, like, was that Nicole Hardman?
No, it was Gay.
Oh yeah,
it's not Willie.
Randall Gay.
Yeah. Willie Gay was stuck in my head.
Like running and carrying his shoes in his hands.
Yeah, and he had in the scene. He's just laid. Like everybody's having fun. Like we want to see drunk Kelce, say things and all that.
Viva Las Vegas.
It just it takes away from everything, but more importantly, it took away from one person lost their life. Was it 20+ people injured?
Yep,
that's so shitty. And what's crazy is like Kansas City's not a big city. But they don't have the exact estimation, but they were saying there was like 800,000 people there. You know why they were saying 800,000? Is because when the Royals had their parade, that's how many people were there for that. So they're like, there's at least 800,000 because we're using that as a point of reference. But think about that. The Royals, who are like this just almost a farm team in MLB, you still had 800,000 people support that damn team.
Kansas City is a passionate sports town. If you build it, they will come.
They're thinking about building that stadium.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
That would be awesome.
But, I mean,
Kansas City, St. Louis area for baseball fans is super passionate.
Right. But back to the crime thing, I read somewhere that Kansas City is the third highest rate as far as
rate
shooting
per capita.
And that's not even, you don't think of that as any of the top three.
No, I mean, it's not on my radar. I'm not seeing it. It's not the Baltimore or Chicago.
I mean, you automatically think L.A., New York, Chicago. That's the three that pop in my head. First,
I was watching the news before I came down,
yeah.
And they said that they had narrowed it down to it happened at the parade, but it was actually a gang dispute. And when you think Middle America, Kansas City, you don't think shootouts at a parade.
It don't matter. Any city they got.
It's yeah, I know it sucks.
I mean, it was probably. I don't even know how old the shooter was. They haven't said, but I bet under the age of 25.
Probably so.
It's shitty. All right, we could be more depressed and go down that, but I hope
we got to do better. That's all I want to say is we got to do better. We should be able to have an event where fans can come watch their team celebrate
and not worry about
shit like that. The fact that we're still having to worry about that, I'm not going to sit here and preach gun control or anything like that, but like
have some class.
We got to be better people. Period.
Like remember, like back in the day when people would have a problem, if you were around like a bunch of other people, it's like we'll settle this another time.
Right. Like today's not the day. Like so, I mean, like what we got to do better.
Go handle it, but like don't bring in everybody else.
Yeah, you go do your thing. Anyway, I mean, it is what it is.
No, but that's where we're at.
Well, it's run somebody over with a car, stab them with a knife, shoot them with a gun. You kill them all three ways. It's the decay of society. Be a better human being.
Yeah.
And here's the thing,
fans.
The movie Friday, when he pull out the gun, his dad's there and tells him not to fight like a man. Dude, if you get your butt kicked, move on.
Yeah, live another day.
Just grab a brick and hit him in the face.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, why do we have to?
We need more John Witherspoons in this world. I miss him. And we don't get that glorious.
All right, so to the game. I know I picked the Chiefs.
I did as well.
Biggie picked the Niners for the sake of the show, even though he's a waffler. But anyways.
It's okay to waffle on this, I guess.
That's not.
No?
You need to pick where you're going to pick and be legit real about it.
I felt like this one was a crapshoot.
I'm just saying.
It was a crapshoot, but it's just like I do on Thursdays. On Thursday to Sunday, things change. Where I bet on Thursday and where I put my money on Sunday ain't always the same.
I just feel like you should put your money where your mouth is on the show.
If we do it on the day of the game about an hour before kickoff, I will.
When we start going to Radio Row and doing a live, maybe we can.
Then we can do that.
But all right, so Biggie, you're the fan of the New England Patriots. You know what it's like to have a dynasty. So when you look at the outside end at Kansas City, can you call it that now?
Yeah, it used to be you'd always say for years and years you had to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, like the 90s Cowboys or the early 2000s Patriots, or it's the 70s Steelers. They won 4 in 6 years with 2 repeats. The Niners of the 80s had a back-to-back and won 4. These Chiefs have won 3 in 5 years. They played in 4 of the 5, and in all 5 years they've been in the AFC Championship game. If it wasn't for an overtime loss to the Patriots, which resulted in the rule that played out in this overtime, they'd have been in all 5.
Let's just say he lost to Tom Brady twice.
Well, he's glad Tom Brady retired because whether he's a Patriot or Buck, he wiped his goddamn ass. He wiped his ass with Patrick Mahomes. But it is a dynasty, and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon because they trade Tyreek Hill, and everybody's like, oh, you can't be as explosive. You can't do all this stuff. Well, you got a great quarterback and a great head coach. You can make anything else happen, and their defense is lights out.
I mean, they have had to work at it more than they should have. If they kept Tyreek, that just made it unfair. And now Mahomes actually has to earn us a $500 million contract. But it is definitely a dynasty. I hate to say it because, like we said, no one's won more than back-to-back in 20 years. So, like, I agree with Biggie. It probably used to be 3. In fact, now if you win 2 in a row, been there 3 out of the last 5, they're a dynasty, and I hope to God it's over.
No one's ever won 3 in a row. The Chiefs are the number 2
one
favorite.
ever?
Oh. No one's ever won 3 in a row.
I mean, they're the favorite probably going in, though.
They're not, though.
Who is it?
Niners.
That's stupid.
Isn't it? Like, what have you not learned from this year to where you feel like you need to say them? Like,
So,
whatever happened to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. It's true.
Look at this year with Kansas City. Mahomes
One
left
person
like
has
that.
hardware and one doesn't, and they're still the favorite.
The Chiefs were like the number 12 or 13 offense in the league this year, but their defense was lights out. So Mahomes made the plays when he had to on the damn Super Bowl again.
How many times does, like, the number 1 offense win the Super Bowl?
Well,
Like, that doesn't happen the majority of the time.
but typically your offense is in the top 5 or 7.
You have to have one in the top 10, whether it's offense or defense. There's no way you
They
can.
have the number 2 scoring defense in the
But
league.
it's all about balance. You got to have a team that complements each other. You got to, if you're going to play ball control, then your defense needs to learn how to stay on the field for long periods of time if necessary. But I mean, it's this weird blend. But to your point, like, how would you not pick the Chiefs? I said this at the beginning of the playoffs. Like, I was like, I'm done. It's Kansas City until it's not. Because every time we started to say all year long, they've lost a step. They're missing something. Man, maybe Andy Reid's right. Maybe they galvanized a little bit after the Raiders beat their ass and they had to look at themselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing? And just, we were hearing, maybe you shouldn't do so many commercials. Maybe Taylor Swift is too much of a distraction. Like, everything under the sun was why they were losing. And then who's laughing last?
Well, here's the thing with the Chiefs, though. So, just like any team that becomes a dynasty, even like the Bulls between both three-peats, they knew they could take off during the regular season because that ain't what matters. As long as I win my division, we know we're better than everyone else. We're going to go out and execute when it matters, and we're going to kind of coast the rest of the way because we know what the grind is. The Bulls have done it several years throughout their three-peats. So, I mean, champions realize, let's get through to where we can just execute.
But the Bulls, I think, were always a 1 seed for the most of those runs.
You see what I'm saying?
But here's the thing. The Chiefs, like, you're right. The regular season didn't make or break them. They were the 3 seed. They beat both 1 seeds.
They just knew we had to win the AFC West, and then we'll take care of business in the playoffs.
Just get it.
Because we're better than you.
And we know it. And I think they do. I mean, everybody thinks they're going to win. But, like, I bet the Chiefs really do believe that stuff. And, for all the distractions, quote unquote distractions they had, they were never fazed by any of it.
Well, and they didn't care that, like, Buffalo felt like they was fighting for that top 2. Obviously, Baltimore was there all season long, but, like, I don't feel like Kansas City for a moment was scared of either one of those teams.
No, but what happened was some teams weren't as afraid of Kansas City, and maybe they got a little too caught up. Maybe they needed to remember who they were messing with. And I'm not saying you should be afraid, but maybe they took them lighter than they would normally, because they weren't as polished coming into it. But if you watch football, teams that have good defenses, they find a way. They give them a chance. And man, who predicted Kansas City's defense was going to do this year? And the opposite of what we're talking about, the Niners, where they fired their D coordinator. What did Kansas City do this week?
They signed Spags to extension.
Hell yeah. I mean, they're down
he's
in
great
now.
defense coordinator. The Niners fired Steve Wilkes, and it's crap. Here's Patrick Mahomes, the king of 3 and outs in the Super Bowl until the ball kicks off of a foot on a punt, and then he throws a touchdown pass. Like, to that point, which was midway through the third quarter, Steve Wilkes' defense had given up 2 field goals to Patrick freaking Mahomes. So, and you fire that guy?
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, like,
late knee-jerk reaction.
It is. And a lot of people will say that Kansas City is lucky to win the Super Bowl because, they had some lucky bounces and things went their way.
Well, one of the other reasons is this is one of the things I love the most. I love detailed coaches. Why I like Belichick. So you can talk about knowing the overtime rules or not knowing. Andy Reid had already told his guys, it goes to overtime.
Dude, what a
we
shit
get the
show.
ball. We score to tie the game. If they've already scored, I'm telling you now, we ain't kicking it off.
Yeah, we're gonna go for
we
two.
win it or lose it.
No, but
The Niners didn't know the
the
damn rules.
Niners players came out in the media and said they're just learning the rules as they go.
They tried to walk it back now. They're like, oh, no, we talked about it.
And it's
Let
one,
that happen.
it's one thing if they don't know every in and out, but Shanahan does. But the sideline audio, Shanahan, he didn't know.
They were
He thought
looking
if they scored a touchdown, it was over.
They were like, okay, all right, that makes sense. And then when it was getting down at the end of the first overtime, the clock was winding, and there was a lot of confusion. I think even the announcers, Romo finally said, like, the clock doesn't matter. And
Because it was still the Chiefs' first possession.
right, it's going to go, like, you don't have to beat the clock. It's going to go until it has to. But, that was, how are you on the biggest, you get 2 weeks to prepare. And the Chiefs, to your point, were able to say exactly what they were going to do. Mahomes is like, I mean, maybe coach is going to get mad at me for saying this, but yeah, we were going to go for two. When they took the ball first, we're like,
wouldn't
what?
you think you have 2 weeks to prepare that you're already going to say what the scenarios are, so that way everyone knows?
He tried to say, Shanahan tried to say, like, well, we wanted the ball first because if there was a third possession, we wanted it to be us. But to your point, there wasn't going to be a third possession.
Oh, that's depressing.
That's
Remember, I was sitting there watching it with
How does
Isaac.
that happen at a pro level?
Sitting there watching with Isaac, and when they had the coin flip come out there and they won it, took the ball, I said, Isaac, if I understand the rules right, that was really dumb. And then they started talking about it. And to me, because here's what it is. If you take the ball second, you're the Chiefs. What'd they do on fourth down from their own end? They went for it. If they'd had the ball first at their own 30 in the first possession, they'd have been punting.
Right.
The Niners, third down, misses the guy in the end zone because of free rusher. If that's flipped and the Chiefs have already had the ball, now you're going for it.
Are you talking about when nobody blocked Chris Jones?
Yeah. Shanahan is brilliant offensive mind, but I think he's one of those guys who wants to beat you a certain way because he wants you to know he's smarter than you.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I'm not
Christian
saying
McCaffrey touched the ball 30 times. He had 160 or something total
where
yards.
they go 10 plays after the
Second half starts. Mahomes throws an interception, 3 passes, punt.
three. and
Next
out.
possession, 3
and out.
passes. Like, I don't know. I felt like the Chiefs deserve the win. They're a great team, but then I feel like the Niners lost it more than the Chiefs won it.
I don't want to put it all on Shanahan. Maybe they called run plays and they checked out of it. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen. But
What's shitty though? Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, like, but I'm not the kind of guy that believes in absolutes. I don't want to say Shanahan can't ever win a Super Bowl, but it seems like the moments are too big for him. Like it's these little attention to details that we keep talking about. But when they start to add up, it creates this mountain. And now he's starting to get the Doc Rivers reputation, only without a ring.
Right.
That's the best comparison I have.
My issue with the whole situation with Steve Wilkes is the fact that if he'd been available 6 weeks ago, he might have had a head coaching job. And the fact we're going to fire him after the Super Bowl, after that defense played the way it played, and like you don't even get an interview because it's the timing of it, that's shitty for him.
It is.
Yeah, all those
I hope
stats
he's
have
got a
been
good
filled out.
clause to get paid there because that's
I'm
what
just saying, like he would have been right in the rounds with the head coaching vacancies, in my opinion.
I'll say this in defense of Kyle Shanahan. This is the only thing I'll say in his defense. The 2 Super Bowl losses to the Chiefs, up 10 both times, blah, blah, blah. You know, they couldn't win. He wears those. Up 28-3. Dan Quinn was your head coach. He's a defensive genius.
He's a part of that, though.
But you scored 28 points. That wasn't enough to win the Super Bowl. Hey, defense, get a stop at some point.
How many points did you score in the second half?
Get a stop at some point.
I'm just saying,
How many points did you give up in the second half? 31.
I'm not disagreeing that Dan Quinn is the problem there. Congratulations on new job, Dan Quinn. I'm sure it's well deserved. But Kyle Shanahan also was that guy similar to what we saw in this game. Couldn't do shit in the second half.
Yeah.
And like that can't be your calling card. That can't be your sign. Hey, when I'm in big games, you know what I like to do? Get up early and cave.
Yep. Well, same thing in that one. I won't go down the thing, but Dante Hightower, I love him. The big play down 28-12.
You can come into it if you want, if it makes you happy.
Well, I'll get
Get
too
your
deep.
job.
My point,
Yeah, he'll get
and
too deep.
if he runs the ball a little bit more, takes a little more time off the clock, they maybe get a field goal in there somewhere, and they win the game. Or there's not as much time for the Patriots to come back. I get it. It's bad play calling. Defense gave up a ton. Shanahan to me is a guy who's always going to be right where he is. You're going to be good enough to be one of the best 4 or 6 teams, but he is so certain that he's going to prove that he's smarter than you and he's going to do it his way. Like Dan Campbell, where he wouldn't kick a field goal because I'm an alpha male.
You're going to ride or die with that.
Yeah. Sorry, you ain't the real Shanahan.
Oh, and speaking of that,
showed him.
something else here.
Hey, real quick.
I would like to see the Lions in the Super Bowl.
I would have liked to see that too, but they did show old Mike Shanahan.
Yeah.
He looked all right.
Yep.
You know, he still looks like Splinter from Ninja Turtles, but he looks all right.
I got to admit this, and I don't know why it never clicked. I never knew that Ed McCaffrey was Christian's dad.
Get the fuck out.
I didn't.
What?
I mean, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know Ed McCaffrey was a great, receiver for John Elway. I got that. But, like,
when did you realize?
This Super Bowl.
What? Did you see the story of Christian McCaffrey in high school?
Yeah.
Cramps one time in a game. So his dad, every Friday he takes him out at lunch and gets him an IV.
I mean, but like the uncanny similarities of the Broncos versus this Niners team, which is dad Shanahan, McCaffrey, Wilkes.
It's a family business, man.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was crazy.
is.
But so can we talk about the whole rage monster Kelce on the sideline against Coach?
I think we got to address it, and I think I know what you're going to say, so I'm going to let you speak on this.
So here's my problem. So a few things. We all saw what happened. I've coached youth sports, and there's never a time where it's okay for you to put your hands on your coach during a game, or even in practice for that matter. But we're talking about the Super Bowl, the biggest sporting event in the history of the world, other than the World Cup, of course, because we're talking about U.S. sports. But
the only stuff that matters.
My point is, that's unacceptable no matter what. Even his brother recently came out and says, you crossed the line. What I've noticed is that the people coming to Travis Kelce's defense are the folks, rich suburban white women, is saying that it's okay because that's Taylor's boyfriend. Get off your ivory tower. People make mistakes, and it's okay because he was they had this even alternate ego where this article came out and was like, let's hear the other side of the story. I'm like, bitch, I saw what happened. I don't want to hear the other side of the story. It's never okay. If he was black and if he was not Taylor's boyfriend, his ass would have been suspended or probably blackballed for the rest of his career.
We'll address that, but I want to say one thing.
Sorry.
Because you covered a lot. Not everybody said that, though. There are a lot of those same people that you described that are like, oh, he's an abuser. Taylor, run. He might, who knows what he's going to be like behind closed doors. That's what he's like in public.
He said, make me a sandwich.
And she said, what's a sandwich?
Exactly.
But the whole thing with that scenario, and look, we're not race baiters at all. Like we're the furthest thing from that. But you're right. If it was David Njoku that would have done that, holy shit.
Well, A.J. Brown was tweeting it Sunday night because there was a big deal about him and Jalen Hurts getting into it on the sideline.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of quarterback wide receiver stuff, but he said, imagine I did that with my head coach. How would that go down?
I mean, he's right. He's right. And look, a couple of things I've learned in watching sports my whole life. Winning makes you look the other way on a lot of shit. And
winning's the best deodorant.
It is. It's like there's that cost risk analysis, right? Like the Browns give Deshaun Watson a job, even though he's marred in controversy, but hey, he's got talent, so we kind of and that kind of goes into play.
Think about it like this: Andy Reid's arguably one of the best coaches in NFL history. He's older, he knows how to handle situations. He wasn't going to let that moment change what he was planning on doing. Would you imagine if a Kelce came and did that to a Dan Campbell in this year's playoffs on the national spotlight? I'm not saying
we'd see a dragon sleeper.
I think that there would have been a knockout, drag-out brawl right there.
But this is more reason why Kansas City is who they are. Like shit like this can happen, and they just move on. It's amazing. But
Speaking of moving on, let's move on from the greatest tight end ever debate, because why was he not on the field right there? They brought in a different tight end because it was a running play to block. Gronk would have been in the game because he's not only a dynamic wide receiver, but he's the greatest blocking tight end. That's for football. I don't ever again want to hear Travis Kelce mentioned ahead of Gronk.
Hey, I don't know if the audio picked that up.
100%. I've argued with Biggie on that, but now, you know what? He's converted me.
No. You're in the fucking Super Bowl. You're at the 10-yard line. You're taking Kelce out.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you people don't understand.
You people. What does that mean?
I'm just saying.
Don't get mad at Reid because you can't fly.
Yes.
Gronk is the best tight end that's played.
Thank you.
We don't need
He just can't kick extra points.
No.
Yeah. Over 2, big.
That's a monumental fail.
You bet one way or the other. I can't believe you didn't even bet on Gronk.
You failed me last year. I couldn't.
I like how they do it so quick, too, so you can't even see his reaction.
I love his old, Al Bundy helmet.
It was nice.
With the one strap and the blue helmet.
Hey, that's a kicker helmet.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked about it is that Carl Weathers was involved in the build-up to it.
I know.
So seeing that with him having just passed, I really enjoyed that.
Literally, it had to be out of nowhere because he was, supposed to be training Gronk and everything.
Well, I mean, you did your autograph giveaway. We talked about, former Reds.
Gullet.
Again, you just saw him months ago.
Right.
You never know. It sucks. It sucks when we get old and we see our own mortality because legends like Carl Weathers is a lot of things to us. He's Predator. He's Rocky. He's Happy Gilmore.
No, he's Apollo. He's Apollo first, then Chubbs.
But I'm saying he's all those things, and he's those things to a lot of people. Like he is an icon. He was a Raider. I mean, there's so many things you can say about that man, and we don't have him now.
No, but think about the first 2 Rockies. And those came out. The first one came out in the late 70s, and the second one had to be early 80s. But how ripped Carl Weathers was! It was like the true underdog story because they're like, there's no way this Rocky guy can be somebody that chiseled like Apollo Creed.
All I know is Happy made the putt in memory for Chubbs. Gronk couldn't do the same thing.
Oh.
So he might be the greatest tight end ever, but they need to pull him off that kick game forever. He don't need to go back.
If you'd have made it this year, you could have played the rubber next year, but you're 0 for 2. Move on.
He was like, just tap, tap, tap it in. And then he kicked it wide right with a lot of aggression.
Carl Weathers.
No tapping.
Is a part of one of the greatest memes ever with him and Arnold. The 2 arms, handshake. And then they do, add whatever you want to it.
Yeah, I love the one, too, and it's kind of related, but his trainer is throw the damn towel. That's one of the best memes ever.
How much steroids do you think those guys took back then?
Carl Weathers was a pro football player.
He's an athlete.
So him being really good
only
shape.
Drago, man, clearly, and Mr. T, because Rocky trained in Siberia.
There's footage of Drago taking.
Yeah, there's footage of Rocky training the old school way. And then also, Carl Weathers, he probably just trained by throwing the ball to his dog in the pool.
That's all you need. And running on the beach and hugging another man that's not an awkward thing to do.
Very Larry Bird shorts.
Yeah. Oh, that was the style. Those are
we like to call them Magic Johnson shorts.
Those are coming back.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how basketball's changed where in the early 2000s the shorts were down to the shin.
It was like the and one short.
Yeah. Now it's like reverse.
I think it's like Steph Marbury.
You're right. That's who you think of. Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
All that. Ricky Davis, remember that guy? The guy that would miss on his own basket to get a triple-double?
I remember that.
Or the opponent's basket. That's what he did. Did he play for Jerry Sloan? I think he played on the Jazz.
If he did, that was probably the end of his career.
I think Jerry Sloan was like, I don't know what's
I'm going to go ahead and tell you that
right now.
that shit getting rebound on your opposite basket ain't going to work for Jerry Sloan.
Karl Malone might marry 14-year-olds, but he wouldn't do that.
Yes.
All right, so back to Super Bowl stuff, just with Andy Reid, because you were talking about that. Where does he sit all time now? Because we got to have a serious conversation about Andy Reid because in Philly, he won, got the NFC Championship games, got to the Super Bowl. And since he's been at Kansas City, man, they've been a winning program every year in and year out. And then once they elevated the quarterback position, it's them until it's not.
I even think it's bittersweet, though, that he beat Philly last year. So
yeah,
I think that adds to the mystique. But what do you got?
The team that fired him.
Right.
I think he's one of the all-time great coaches who wouldn't be regarded as is he on the Mount Rushmore type thing had he not gotten Patrick Mahomes. When he finally got an elite quarterback, and that's what happens.
So he's not in your top 4?
Every great coach ever needed a great quarterback, right? Other than Joe Gibbs. So when Andy Reid got his guy, if Andy Reid doesn't retire for 3 or 4 more years, they'll win another Super Bowl or maybe 2 because Andy Reid is that good. He just needed the right trigger.
So right now is in your Mount Rushmore. Right now. Top 4. He's number 5 for me.
He'd be my 5th.
I'm not prepared to
I can't put him there yet because
if he wins another one, he is.
He's definitely there. If he wins
Especially if he does the 3-peat.
You guys know
it's a lock.
I'm higher on Joe Gibbs, probably most NFL fans. Joe Gibbs is one of the greatest coaches in the history of football. You went to 4 Super Bowls, you won 3, you won each one of them with a different quarterback.
Belichick, Gibbs, who else?
I got
Wait. On Gibbs, I'll give you time to process this, but does his legacy get marred a little bit where he tried to come back and coach after all those years?
I don't think so.
because they still made they still made the playoffs.
Yeah,
coached 4 years and made
like
playoffs twice.
Or something.
We made playoffs twice in 4 years. He was there the year Sean Taylor got killed. They made the playoffs.
So if
anyone can NASCAR and ran a successful.
It showed that at least the game hadn't passed him by.
So Dan Snyder is such a shitty owner that maybe if he wasn't there, Joe Gibbs might maybe even have more to the resume.
Yeah,
I would say that. So I appreciate the view on Gibbs because he is often overlooked. And like you can say what you want about the Hogs and those defenses and who was their big ass fullback?
John Riggins.
And winning with the different quarterbacks. Like you can make that argument, but I think why people don't is nobody ever looks at any of those Redskin teams and say like that's the best, one of the best teams in NFL history or anything like that. They were just, you know what they remind you of? They remind you of like when the Detroit Pistons were winning titles in the 2000s. You know, it's like they're just a collection of talent. Role players all fit it really well, but he maximized it. So I don't know. Do you give him more credit for that or less?
I think you give him more credit for maximizing your talent.
I do too. 3 different quarterbacks.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah. So do you have a top 4?
I mean, let's just talk it out here.
Biggie was ready to roll.
All right, go.
Well, and here's where I'm going to up different. So I'm just going to say something. Let's see. I like Gibbs in my top 4. Belichick, Lombardi, Landry. So who don't I have on there that everybody else does?
Shula.
Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll.
Yep. They're
Vince Lombardi.
George
no,
Halas.
I have Lombardi.
Did you say Belichick?
George Halas.
Lombardi, Belichick, Lombardi, Landry, Gibbs.
Okay. So, yeah.
You know why I like Landry on there? Because that run they had of 20 straight years, never a losing record, it was his system. He plugged a quarterback in. When he had an elite QB in Roger Staubach, they won Super Bowls. It's kind of like the Andy Reid thing where he finally got the elite QB and won Super Bowls. To me, it matters how well you can do with a different quarterback. You got Joe Montana, great. You got Terry Bradshaw.
So why do you have Belichick
defensive
in there?
Hall of Fame?
Why do you have Belichick in there?
Patriots fan.
Because he can only do it with Brady.
When you win at that rate for that long,
I'm making sure you're on.
Can I get my top 4?
You can give top 20. I don't
know.
care.
Top 4. We got Belichick, obviously. It is what it is. I don't care who his quarterback was because he did win when he won.
Yep.
All right.
The era, too, helps.
Yeah. I love Don Shula still. He's in my top. I'm not saying he's number 2. I'm saying he's in my top 4.
Can we stop?
In random.
Can we stop on Shula for a second?
Yeah.
Just a couple highlights there. So, one, you know, you get to pop that champagne and nobody else does.
All-time winningest coach still.
The other thing is, man, he was a good coach with good teams for a long time. And he had back-to-back Super Bowls, right?
Yep.
And like, I know he didn't win much in the 80s.
They went to 3 straight Super Bowls and won 2.
Yeah, right. But
the 70s.
And then even in the 80s up to the 90s, like even in like 93, the Dolphins weren't an easy out. Like he spanned into 3
The thing that hurt Shula, I think, is that he had Dammer, you know, they went to the one Super Bowl in 84.
Yeah.
And Shula coached for like another 13 years,
man.
And they never made it back to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, their defense was never great. They never had a running game, you know. But a lot of people say Marino is the best quarterback of all time, and to not have a chip with a Mount Rushmore coach and a Mount Rushmore quarterback, it's tough.
All right, so Belichick, Shula, I'm going Lombardi. Okay, number 4, completely different reason, and I'm going to justify it. John Madden, because he changed the game like Jordan changed the shoe game in NFL, because no one knew what a turducken was. He made video games what they are today. So John Madden, for that reason alone, also because he was the coach of the Bad Boy Raiders, he changed the game of football more than any of those other 3 coaches I've already mentioned.
Hey, Greg, who's got the highest winning percentage
John
in
Madden.
NFL history?
Yeah.
Learn
when to walk away on top.
I'm just
For the
saying,
other things you mentioned,
no one would have
people
thought about
think-
John Madden, and he's in my Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
The only reason why I don't put Madden up there is just longevity. I'd like to send him.
But think about the other stuff.
Oh, but I think when you talk about just an ambassador for the game, it's tough to put a lot of people ahead of him. Like the NFL is a monster. Like it's incredible how big it is. Like, I don't think people even fathom that. Like the NFL this year and the fact that it had more viewership than the Apollo and all that stuff. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. And you can say what you want about more people being alive now than back in the 60s or whatever, but just the fact that the NFL, like they just print money. Like they can't lose. They can't lose. They have control over the system. But
They've got kind of a monopoly of a sporting world.
they do. And
At least in the U.S.
like they go year long. Like the Super Bowl's over and like the top headlines on ESPN today are like Geno Smith's going to clear for his guarantee this year and different players getting extensions and contracting. Like it's not going to stop. You're going to go to the combine. You're going to go to the draft. You're going to go to camps. Like it's unrelenting. And Madden is a big part of why it got there. Because without Madden being the lovable uncle or grandpa calling games with Pat Summerall, who was the drunk grandpa, and then
But they were so good together.
it was great. And then you mentioned Turduckens, the video game franchise. Like, think about that.
Commitment to excellence.
There's no other. You don't call wrestling games Vince McMahon video game. You don't call NBA 2K LeBron James or
even
Pat
Jordan.
Riley or Jordan or anything like that. But yet Madden, the best-selling sports franchise video game ever, he gets his name on there. Yeah. If you want to talk about legacy, man, it's hard to compete with that. But just coach alone,
No, I get that.
I can't put him in the
No,
top.
I wanted to include it all.
No, but it's hey.
So,
it's
all
your
right.
fucking list. Do whatever you want.
What you got then?
I mean, it's like some of the ones I think about. It's easy to think of reasons why not to, and I hate to have my mind go that way, but like when I think about Chuck Noll, man, he won a lot, and he was there a long time. But similar to Shula, did all these damage in the 70s and couldn't do much in the 80s, and by the time the 90s got here, he was out the door. Tom Landry, same thing. Won a lot in the 70s, invented the shot. Like, how do you not put Bill Walsh up there?
I mean, I think he's like 5 or 6 from where Andy Reid or him is.
And conversely, a lot of people will put Paul Brown up there because he was like the first version. But I think sometimes, like, just because you were here first doesn't mean you're the greatest. It's easy to be an
That's kind of
innovator.
like Bill Russell.
It's easy to be an innovator when there's 14 teams.
I agree.
All that. But Bill Walsh, man, like his coaching tree, like he was the first guy I remember like hearing about coaching trees because he had a system and people came from it and they were able to be really successful.
But that means something.
He
built an NFL legacy.
So I have a hard time not.
All right, so is he in the top 4?
I think I'd put Bill Walsh.
All right, Walsh. Who else?
You got to go Lombardi and Belichick.
All right, that's 3. Who's number 4?
Number 4.
All round.
No, I think
Marvin Lewis.
It's definitely Marvin Lewis because the Bengals couldn't win anything for a decade, and Marvin Lewis came in, and we were at least 75% of the time. So Marvin Lewis put him in Canton. No, I don't know. Like,
You got to pick one.
I think I've kind of psychologically like cleaned off the placemat for Andy Reid because I think they're going to win it next year.
I got you. That's fair.
And like, I think you could even make the argument to put him there now because he was always known as a great play caller. And now he's got the wins to go with it. But
So
I think
Belichick, you have Belichick, Lombardi, Walsh, and Andy Reid.
no, it's good. It's going to be Tom Landry for right now. And I think
Curveball.
Landry's going to be the one that falls out because a lot for the same reason with Bill Walsh. I'll put Tom Landry in there. I mean, it's crazy to think about. You remember the scene in Varsity Blues whenever Kilmer's gone and the players are running their own shit, and they show this. I think they show Moxon's dad in the stands, and they're going 5 wide, and he goes, five wide receivers. Oh, like that's what Tom Landry was doing in the 70s. They were like a shotgun. Someone check the rule book. Are you allowed to not be under
center? We go under center in pros.
Right? That's what's happening. Like, that's what he did to the game. Like, he created that.
He changed the game. That's why he's on my list. It's like, well.
And the hat, man. The hat gets credit.
The hat's legendary. Goes with a show I love.
Give me the Tom Landry hat over Bear Bryant any day. I said it. Write it down.
Now you look classy, though. They're both.
So I'll say this, too, because we talk about Belichick, and obviously he's up there. See, I love Gibbs doing it with different quarterbacks, but I feel like when you have your quarterback like he had Brady for 20 fucking years, you thought the Patriots might win the Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't always, it's not just one player. So when you have your guy like Andy Reid's doing right now with Patrick Mahomes, and we're talking about him being on this list, he's been a good coach. He got his guy. You can't touch him, right? So that's why I like Tom Landry changing the game. The trophy, it's the Lombardi trophy. Look at what he did before they were Super Bowls winning NFL titles. So
I love the fact that none of us had the same thing.
Yeah,
which shows you how
we're similar but not identical.
It changed though.
And you know, it's I just try not to have recency bias, but I think the thing that helps is, and Belichick really galvanized kind of our view on it because we got to see that for 20 years in entirety as adults, you know, so we know what that looks like. I mean, there's,
Can I throw one name out there who I think's an amazing coach?
We wanted to talk about other names that we didn't mention and maybe ones that you think are overrated or not properly rated, but who did you want to mention?
Jimmy Johnson.
I thought about that because when I was going through the Cowboys, like what he inherited was awful.
You're the guy who replaces the legend Tom Landry.
You're supposed to be able to do it.
You, in 5 years, you win 2 Super Bowls. All those players drafted, what is still used today for trade values was created by Jimmy Johnson for the NFL draft.
Herschel Walker.
He won a title in college. He's amazing. Then he leaves. Why does he leave? Not because he wants Jerry Jones. I want the credit for this. What happens? They bring in Barry Switzer, and Troy Aikman said on multiple occasions, Barry Switzer would lead practice before the rest of the guys. Fuck it, I'm out. They still won a Super Bowl with him and went to a title game on the team that Jimmy Johnson
It's the same
together.
Thing that happened when he was at Miami and he left and they brought in Dennis
Erickson. Yeah.
The players didn't even give a shit. They're like, no, this is our team still. Yep. We're doing what Jimmy taught us to do. Same thing with Barry Switzer. I mean,
so you guys, who's the guy who isn't going to be on the Mount Rushmore?
I just got to say, I got to take points away from Jimmy Johnson though, because he partially helped create Jerry Jones' megalomaniac, processes here. Because if he wouldn't have won those Super Bowls, Jerry Jones wouldn't be the son of the bitch he is. It happened early on in his ownership.
Yeah,
he's been stupid ever since. It's just been terrible. But
going with power.
All right. So some other coaches, like we didn't mention guys like Hank Stram. You know that's Mike Shanahan. Tony
Dungy.
I don't know if we said this last week on the show, but those late Broncos teams that went back to back, man, they were remember they flirted with undefeated seasons. Like they were really good. And Mike Shanahan sometimes doesn't really get talked about in that same regard. And maybe it's his stupid ass son bringing his legacy down.
Probably.
But yeah, I think Shannon's a great name to mention. Mike Ditka. Well,
Tony Dungy.
You know, Chicago, the Bears only have one Super Bowl.
Here's one you guys haven't mentioned. I thought we'd throw out there.
By the way. Yeah, Colts and the one Gruden stole.
Bill Parcells.
Oh, yeah. The big tuna.
Yeah.
Won everywhere he went.
Except for
2
Dallas.
Super Bowls. Well, I mean, he won. yeah. But I think the one that we'll look back on. So I was going to bring Bill Cowher. I was going to actually say 2 coaches I think that are in the same ballpark.
Him and Tomlin.
Well,
you could say that.
Them, but on an opposing team.
Cowher now.
I feel like John Harbaugh is our version, this generation's version of Bill Cowher. The one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They were never really bad. They had their peak years.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, you can win one Super Bowl and you're in the Hall of Fame. You know? I mean, that's all, because it's so hard to do. But, you know, we mention all the. Is there anybody that's won multiple that we didn't mention? I think we got them all. What we did this trivia last week. Who are the team? Shula, you got Landry, Noel, Belichick, Shanahan,
Walsh, Belichick.
I think that's
Reid.
it.
Yep.
Like and
Reid
now. So like there's your top 10 is the guys that have won 2. And I hate that be like such an easy qualifier, but doesn't it feel right? Like if they're able to do it that way.
And ain't that funny though how Shanahan don't even pop up?
He's way down the list.
Yeah. He has 2, right?
He's got 2.
Yep.
And I mean he where all did he coach?
He started with the Raiders.
He was in the Cleveland too, right? No.
Was he? I don't think
Cleveland.
He coached the Raiders in like the late 80s, and Al Davis. There was some word.
Yeah, they had a
he
falling
fired
out.
him, and
That's how he ended up in Denver, and he was mad about that because, so he went to the enemy. But
that's why Kyle Shanahan wanted to win that Super Bowl so badly in Las Vegas. Where's Daddy?
So what does somebody else need to do?
You said Harbaugh won a championship. I thought that was Billick, Brian Billick.
No, that was the first.
Billick did win one.
Okay.
The last one with Ray Lewis retired. The lights out game.
Okay, cool.
The lights out.
All right, just making sure.
Maybe his brother can give a run at something here.
Nah.
He's coming in.
I just love to see Ravens Chargers in the playoffs now since they're both in the AFC.
That'd be a nice playoff game.
That's the other thing too. You guys know I'm really big on Jim Harbaugh. Now you got him in your division, Reid, Pierce, Sean Payton. That division, other than we'll see what Pierce does, but Harbaugh's proven, Payton's proven. That division for head coach.
Finishing second.
You really do believe in Pierce, don't you?
I do.
Like, I mean,
Dude, he's never this optimistic.
I know, right?
The players got his back.
I'm proud of you.
Max Crosby's like, I'm gone if he ain't my coach because that man's got balls. That's all I need to hear.
You see Max Crosby at the award show?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
You see his old lady?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Just saying.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, when you have sleeves like that, man, you can get whoever you want.
I still think
he's not even sleeves. He's a whole body.
I still think you can't see his nipples.
He's a whole body tattoo.
They've been tattooed over. They're no longer visible. Maybe they're tattoos now.
He said, "I have nipples, Max. Can you
milk
me? Where's my nipples?"
Oh man. Well, the last question I got, just with the Chiefs and this legacy that they've now built, like what has to happen for them not to do the three-peat? Like, I mean,
injuries.
Do you feel like it's them? Like, is Vegas that stupid by not having them as the number one team?
They are stupid, but my question to you is, how do they handle a full season of Taylor Swift and not just down the stretch? So now,
do you think they're going to last that
they're
long?
back-to-back champions, and when does she cut cord, Because the thing is, if they'd have lost, she'd have wrote a breakup song about Kelce and then went with Big Dick, what's his name?
Nick Foles?
No, not Nick Foles. Pete Davidson.
Oh, yeah. Pete Davidson's always lurking in the shadows.
So, I mean, if they'd have lost, but now that they've won, does she wait till they lose? That's the bigger question.
We all agree this is like a publicist thing, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Maybe there's something there. Maybe something happens over time, but it seems like it's kind of running its course. Like, what are they going to do without football? I don't see Kelce retiring to go spend his life with Tay-Tay.
Nah, he's not going to retire until they lose.
I'm going to say it right now. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says at all. I thought it was great for the league this year. Like, people were getting all upset about it, and some people were like, I'm not going to watch because all they do is talk about Taylor Swift. And Al Michaels got mad. And what was the number they showed during the Super Bowl? It was like 57 seconds she was on television.
Yeah.
And that's what people are losing their mind about.
You know what that 57 seconds got the NFL? Isn't it like an extra $400 million or something in sales throughout the year?
Here's the thing. That's a skewed story, Chad, and you know it, because that don't take into fact on social media how many memes that creates and the nauseating overabundance of Taylor Swift reporting. It makes you sick to your fucking stomach.
Well, I just tune it out if I don't want to hear it, but everybody kept eating it up like it was must-see TV. People acted like they didn't care. Then why wouldn't it go away?
All I know is Jason Kelce's lady
She wasn't
is
a part
prettier than Travis Kelce's lady.
She wasn't a part of it. Also, and then, so the thing is, he's making jerseys that says Taylor's boyfriend. So, I mean, clearly.
We should have made them.
Yeah.
We should have profited on that.
We should have a t-shirt company.
Just to make. My favorite, I think I showed you guys, just the one that had the picture of Dog the Bounty Hunter on it and just had the signature from Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
That was my favorite show.
Yeah.
They ought to put that in every Spinners across the country.
You think she stays till football season?
I don't. I mean,
wow.
yeah.
I do.
I do, and here's why. She's on a world tour right now, so they're not going to see each other a ton.
Which is why they'll break up.
timing.
No, it's perfect for them to only see each other enough to keep the love strong.
No.
Absence makes the hot
when he doesn't make the same effort. Like, I was listening. They had him mic'd up. They're on the field, and he's hugging her after the game. He's like, I can't believe you made it. When did you get, like, she did all this effort, while we're sitting here drinking out of fucking paper straws. She's flying her jets all the way across the world.
Japan, right?
And her bank account's a little different than Travis's. What's going to happen when she's doing, like, Western Australia tour and, like, Travis is like, I'm not going.
Well, here's why he'll be there. You want to know why? Remember the girlfriend he had before? They broke up because he wanted her to pay half of everything. The suite that they were all sitting in at the game, you know how much those suites were going for? Estimated $2.5 million. You know who paid for that seat?
Sure,
for Taylor, her friends, Jason, all them? Travis paid for it.
What?
Yep.
No, over $1 million.
No, they made a big thing about it on Twitter because he wanted to go halves with his other old lady, and he dropped $2 million for them to send him.
Maybe it is love.
Yep.
Maybe I just need to be a hopeless romantic about this.
Should.
Would she sing at her own wedding?
No, but
Sandler for that one.
Man. All right.
So I got one question for you guys before we don't talk Super Bowl, all that sort of stuff. I wore these glasses for one reason. I didn't see all the Super Bowl commercials.
Are those rose-colored glasses?
But my favorite one was the one with Brady and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, the Dunkings.
Yeah.
Did you guys have one that you really liked?
The sports or the Super Bowl commercials. Yeah, there was. I watched them. I remember there was one I really kind of popped for, but there was some. I thought it was funny. Like, some of the movie trailers were like coming out in December, and like, yet you're doing the Super Bowl commercial and all this stuff. Like, maybe that's a good investment. I don't care. You guys can get mad if you want. I thought it was weird that the Jesus commercials were as big as they were. Like, they spent $20 million on feet washing commercials.
No, I mean,
for hippie Jesus.
That kind of caught me off guard because it was sitting there talking about, like, it was going on forever. Everybody was washing everybody's feet, and then it became
I knew what it was right away.
It was just weird for me.
It was. I mean, maybe they got a lift from that, but that was.
So my favorite one, and me and Biggie talked about. I know he's got more than one, but Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh yeah.
What was
the Paramount Plus?
Yeah.
Yep.
So then he was like talking, and they're trying to have throw it over the mountain, right? Well, then Drew Barrymore's like, she's like, "Oh, great, Creed's here." He cuts her off. He's like,
"Got your trap, Barrymore.
Shut your face, Barrymore." And then I'm like, "That was so great." And then he strips down to like the YA tittle gear.
Oh yeah.
And he's going to act like he's going to throw it while Creed's playing, "Can you take me?"
You got Reno 911 with the tramp stamp.
And then he hits the side of the mountain was the Hey Arnold.
Yeah. That was good shit.
That was a good one.
We posted that. I got that commercial like a week before, and I put it on social media, and a lot of people liked it before it even made the Super Bowl.
I love that one.
Yeah. I love that as he threw it because he goes, "I just threw him higher." And the way they, I don't know.
Sir Patrick
together really well.
He's a gift, man. Like, I appreciate the hell out of him. He does his little animated voices on Family Guy and American Dad and all that stuff. And he does these jokes. He was in the Doctor Strange movie reviving Professor X. Like, I really like Patrick. And some people only know him from like Star Trek and shit like that. But he's amazing. Give me. What was Men in Tights? He was King Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good shit.
Did you see the couch potato commercial?
Were they like, it was like the Matrix kind of like,
well, they're all on potatoes.
They're farming.
Yeah.
That's why it sounds like the Matrix, because they're in rows and sitting.
It was all about just them being like couch potatoes. You didn't see that one?
I did not.
I think it was a streaming service.
I think it was Tubi or something like that, or Fubo, or one of those weird services that I don't subscribe to. I feel like
you don't have to because they're free.
I feel like there was another one that popped out to me, and I can't remember what it was. But there was nothing great. I don't feel like there were bad ones. Like, they didn't try to go with any narrative. They weren't too conservative or too progressive or anything. It just felt like football commercials.
It wasn't over the top compared to normal.
Right.
I always like paying attention to them because we were in high school at OJT. So senior year, you only went half a day. One of our classes was our business class. And I can remember one of our reports was that you had to watch the Super Bowl and make a report on one of the halftime commercials. And then I've always since then been into it. Like this year was $7 million for a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl because it's the biggest sporting event in the United States and in the world other than the World Cup.
Last thing I got. I love the halftime show.
I didn't watch it.
Not an Usher fan.
I think he's overrated. And my thing is the fact is, Alicia Keys' husband, he's pissed off.
Oh, probably.
Was there some grinding going on?
The way he was behind up on her, wrapping up on her. But Alicia Keys looked good, so I ain't mad about it. But I'm sure her husband is.
She doesn't wear makeup ever.
I mean, she'll need to. She's gorgeous.
She's a good-looking girl. But, Usher was... there was some bike issues.
He was a little chummy.
Oh, he was in wasn't he in a BMW commercial?
Don't know. Could have
been. There was a commercial. Aren't you supposed to be somewhere in the first time?
Yeah, I do remember that now that you said that. But I thought it was good. I'm not saying it was like top 10 performance, but it was good entertainment. If you like any R&B music or if you like Usher at all.
And what Janet Jackson says, there ain't no show unless a titty falls out.
Right, but we're never going to get that again.
My favorite memory of that Super Bowl is Leo DiCaprio up in the booth doing Booger Sugar, taking a bump.
Of this Super Bowl, yeah. Oh, yeah, he was...
They pan to him and his head's down. And they're like, let's find some other celebrity.
You're in Vegas.
Who'd they hit next?
I don't rember.
And he actually got up and kind of
waved. Who cares if he's living off that scene of Wolves of Wall Street?
Yeah, he's still like, I'm shooting a movie.
So that's what he was doing. He's taking that bump.
The only thing I know for sure is that whoever was with him was under the age of 25. Or is it younger than that?
I think 26 is the cutoff.
Is that 26?
I just have one question. If you were well off, you made $500,000 a year, $1 million a year. You're not rich, but you make great money. We're friends. I would know. You make that much money and I don't know, I'm taking your knee out. Would you pay?
They'd be taking us out to lunch more.
Would you pay? Because like the top tickets at the Super Bowl, or if you want to sit on like the 40-yard line at a lower level, we're going for like $38,000. Would you ever be willing to pay that money?
So the Bengals were in a Super Bowl a couple years ago against the Rams, and that's my squad, right? And I looked at that with the fear of mortality, saying we're never going to get back here, and we may not. I remember looking at tickets, and it was like $5,000, $6,000 for like upper deck bad seats. And if it would have been half that, I would have bought it. And that's just the price of the tickets. Like, I don't know how much it costs for food out there. I did look at concession prices; they weren't that bad. Like, there wasn't anything.
I think the thing that would get you, even the ticket prices were a little bit less, is that it's a spur of the moment thing. You find out 2 weeks before the Bengals are going or the Raiders are going.
Hotel.
Yeah. Those are jacked up.
I'm Airbnb. You got to. There's no way. And even
so grateful that baseball's the way it is. I got to go watch the Braves in the World Series for $1,000 a ticket, second row in left field.
Yeah, you got on TV too.
It's amazing.
It's great. But NFL
never happened.
The Super Bowl, the AFC or NFC championship game, you probably could unless you're Detroit because those prices went nuts. But the Super Bowl is just a corporate thing. Like it's all. Like, how many of those people got tickets through like a corporate sponsorship?
Yeah, I gotta be honest. Even if the Raiders made it back Super Bowl for that price, I wouldn't go.
Like, what?
There was
Wait, what would you pay for a Super Bowl ticket for the Raiders?
I paid $2,000 a ticket.
All right, so you're about where I was at.
Just I don't want to go any higher.
It's not worth it.
Nah.
There was a former NFL player who went to the game for the first half, lives in Vegas. Left at halftime to go home and watch it because his seats were bad. He said, screw this. I'd have to find it. It was on Twitter. But to what you were saying, for the amount of money you'd pay for a good ticket, you could have a really nice experience right here. And then you get to see everything.
Yep.
Well, I enjoyed watching it on the big screen at Harper Tack's house. It was nice. Even though he was a Niners fan, he was pretty well.
Did he take it well?
Yeah.
As someone who loves to see different crazy things happen, I couldn't imagine dropping at a minimum. I saw the cheapest ticket was $9,000 just to run on the field as a streaker and leave your pants on. Come on. There were two of them.
You got it. And you're in Vegas too. Like, there's people on the sidewalk that wear less clothes than that.
Yeah.
That was poor.
You know they're not showing you, and they're not. Romo started to, and he's like, "Oh, we can talk about that." So it's like, why you spent all that money for what?
Yeah, I guess a night in jail. I don't know. Are you bragging about that the next day? Because that's the thing. Like, if you came in here and been like, "God, guess what I did? I ran on the field." I was like, dude, that was.
He said it was a bucket list item, and he spent $42,000 just to spend a night in jail.
Is that what he said for real?
That's what it said in the article.
That's insanity.
What I would like to do, Super Bowl goes back to Vegas at some point. It's be there for Super Bowl week. You're never going to make it to the game, but all the events leading up to it, like the cheerleader.
Yeah, our interview with
that would be cool stuff.
Elizabeth Morgan, former Bills. She spent all week out there. Make sure you guys check out that episode. Yeah, she made it sound like I could go hang out there for the week and still have a hell of a time.
We need to get credentials for Radio Row.
I've looked into it. It's
we make a few phone calls.
It's not cheap. We need to post some more memes.
Okay,
make some more money off that. But with that, we appreciate your all support. Keep subscribing to the podcast, share it out, and tell everybody else about it. That'll help us get the Radio Row. But I think that kind of winds us down for the evening. I'm ready to play some NBA Jam and stuff. Last night you were sick, Greg. You've been dying with flu or whatever, bubonic plague.
Yeah.
And we went live, and I beat Biggie with Mutombo.
He blocked my 3-point attempt in the corner from Karl Malone with no time left.
Have you seen the video?
No.
I'll find it and show it to you. It had some. You know how that damn game
Mutombo and Dale Ellis?
It was LaFonso. I don't know which one.
LaFonso Ellis. Okay.
Maybe. And I was like going to switch at halftime, and it was just so bad. But you know how that game always keeps scores close?
Yep.
It kicked in an overdrive.
There you go.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to the We Don't Know Sports podcast. We appreciate you letting us invade your ears once again. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you like to get your podcast. We're everywhere. Make sure you check out our website, www.wdksports.us. If you want to come on the show, you can fill out a guest registry form. You can see all our past episodes, all our different guest catalogs on there, and even Biggie with his super sexy sunglasses. And Greg Freakin Rawlings. Have a great one, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
GFR. That's just what I'll call you.